Okay, Shalom Aleichem, Shavuot Tov, a good week. We are in the week of the Parsha of Tazria, and this Shabbos will be Shabbos Mavorachim, and that means we're bench Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and this week is Parsha's Achodesh, and Shabbos Mavorachim, and Tazria, a triple header. So, I think it's about time, 3 weeks before Pesach, to talk a little bit about Pesach, and some of the dinim, some of the minhagim, and about the Haggadah. You know, there's many Haggadahs out there. Many Haggadahs. I have about 28 different Haggadahs written by a Perushim of different great people, different Haggadahs. You know, right on the market right now are these 3 famous Haggadahs. The Rosh Yeshivas Haggadahs. Here's one of them. There's 6 Rosh Yeshivas there. Then there's another one in the set. 6 more Rosh Yeshivas. Then there's a third one, the Haggadah of the Rosh Yeshivas. You have 6 here, 6 here, and 6 here. 18 Rosh Yeshiva, how they did all these different things in the Seder night. What they ate, what they didn't eat, what they dipped, what they didn't dip, what they said, 18 Rosh Yeshiva on every little thing in the Haggadah. So, there's something to talk about. We have 3 weeks, and we can't do it in the 1 week before Pesach, so you better do it, start now, on discussing Pesach and the Haggadah. The first question you should ask yourself before you get into any details, Haggadah, what does that mean? To tell, because you have to tell the story. You're mechuyev to tell the story to your children, even if they know more than you and they're Rosh Yeshivas, but you're the father. They came into the world because of you. Therefore, you have to tell them, like your father told you, and your grandfather told him, all the way back to Mitzrayim. Because Hashem says in the Torah, you must tell your children. So if Haggadah, we have to, well, that fell down. We have to, if Haggadah is the main thing, so then what means Leman Tesaper Ba'oznei Binecha? What is the difference between Haggadah and Sipur? Haggadah means what? To tell. The Saper to also to tell. So what's the difference? That should bother you. What's the difference between Haggadah and Sipur? And as you go into the Haggadah, you'll see Haggadah is just telling general outline for the not too initiated. You got to tell them this general story. Laman Tesaper comes from the word Sipur, sofer, count, mispar, a number, Laman Tesaper, to tell in high detail, technical detail. That's to a smart son. Laman Tesaper ba'oznei binecha. Tell him all the details, there's 62 mitzvahs that have to do with Korban Pesach. Laman Tesaper, to tell in detail to the Chacham son. The man v'higad tol levincha is for the tam, the average simple person. Now, to learn any subject in detail is not for everybody. It's very difficult. Just look at last week's Parsha at the end of the Parsha of Shmini. It said at the end, at Shishi, all the animals and birds and fish and insects you cannot eat. Look how complicated that is. That Shishi till the end is 47 pesukim on one subject. Macholos asuros, forbidden foods. 47 pesukim on what kind of birds, what kind of fish, what kind of animals, what kind of insects you can eat, some you can eat. How complicated. And last week, if you learned the last part, you know the whole Sefer by Yikro, the whole Sefer is divided in 3 parts. The beginning up to this end of Shmini, which is the Machalas Asuras, that is the second part, those 47 Pesukim, and everything after that. Everything up to this, Yichud, Tzav, and Shmini, most of Shmini, it's about tumas hakadoshos, tuma about from not being holy, bringing karbonas, not being tomei, coming in the base of Migdash, eating a carbon, and bringing a carbon when you're tahar, when you didn't get tomei, you didn't touch a dead body or a dead animal. That's tumas hakadoshos. Then the 47 pesukim about tray for food is called tumas hagavios, not to contaminate your body with macholos asuros. And the next part, which is Tazria, Metzorah, Achemos, Kedoshim, that's about Tumah of the Neshama. Because next week's Sedra, this coming week's Sedra starts out, a Pesukim, a woman gives birth, she's Tomei. It's about her Neshama's Tomei. She didn't do anything wrong, she didn't touch any dead body. And then you talk Lashon, next 117 Pesukim, about Lashon Hara, you kill the man's Neshama. That's the Tumah of the Neshama. So the first part of the Vayikra is about Tumas HaKadoshos, the intellectual connection with God, Karban, get close to God. If you have the wrong thought, the Karban is possible. It's an intellectual Kedusha. Then we have the Machalos Asuros, which is a physical Gashmiistic of Kedusha. Not eating those things makes you holy. And then the last part of the Sefer, which is this week coming Sedra Tazria, Metzorah, Achemos, Kedoshim, Mahuchar, Mahukos, Mahukosai, about Neshama holiness. Now, in last week's Sedra, while we're just talking about details, we got to say something about the Parsha. Did you ever wonder, when it comes to fish, it doesn't use the word fish, it doesn't use dagim. When it comes to animals, it says behemoths and chayos. When it comes to ophos, birds, it says the ophos. When it comes to insects, it says shrotim. When it comes to those creatures in the water, it never says dagim. Did you ever wonder why it doesn't say dag or dagim? Ever wonder? Also, when you come to the birds, it tells you the 20 birds that are usher, the eagle and the ostrich and the falcon and the vulture. Did you ever wonder why it doesn't give you any simanim of simanim? What are the simanim of a kosher bird? Animals, it tells you mafreses, parasol, maligero, split hooves, choose the cud. There are 3 more things. Every kosher animal has horns. Everyone. Every kosher animal has 4 stomachs. There's 5 different things. When it comes to fish, it says snapir v'kaskesses, side fins and scales. When it comes to shrotzim, it says they have to have 4 feet. If they have 4 feet, you can't eat them. And they have jumpers; they jump. When it comes but birds, it doesn't give you any simanim. They mentioned these 20 birds you can't eat. How come there's no simanim? Let me tell you why. Then we'll get back to the Haggadah. The reason you don't mention dagim, fish. You said those creatures in the rivers or in the lakes, they have to have snapir v'kaskesses. Why don't you use the word dagim? Because when you look at a lake or a pond or a river or an ocean, you see everything's calm. You don't see the millions of little fish or big fish there. You don't see them. Their gashmius, their physical, is covered. Don't see it. Daled Gimel is 7. 4 and 3 is 7. As you know, if you listen to this shir, and if you know a little bit insight into numbers are very mystical. 7 is Gashmius, this world. 8 is eternity. 9 is Emet. Aleph, Mem, Tuf. We'll take out the zeros, is 9. Sheker is 6. Shin, Kuf, Reish. Take out the 0, is 6. 6 is Sheker. 7 is Gashmius. 8 is infinity. That's why the infinity sign is an 8 turned sideways. And 9 is Emet. Shem Emet, 9. There's a lot of things in the Torah that are 9 that have to do with Emet, and 8, which is the infinity. Bris Milah on the 8th day, child will live forever and won't go to Gehenna. There's a lot of things to do with that. So Dagim is something that's a big bracha. And the bracha is to cover your gashmis. If you have a lot of money or extremely brilliant, don't flaunt it. Keep it covered. the Gashmias should be covered. That's a bracha. 7 is Dagas Gashmias. They're very successful. Fish are very successful. They have millions of children. That's why we bless people. We say, "V'yidgu the road b'kerev haaretz." They should flourish like fish. B'kerev haaretz in the earth. No one should see them. If you're a multi-millionaire, don't flaunt your money. Do chesed with it. You don't have to have your name in a journal or on a building. You do real chesed with your money. The yidgu, be like fish. The reason they're so successful because no one sees them. Cover it up, low profile. And that's why dogim, that's what the bracha, yidgu l'ro b'kerev, you shouldn't clear, Yosef's children, yidgu l'ro b'kerev haaretz. So that's why dogim are not mentioned, because it's a simon bracha. And why don't those birds, have any simanim? There's 5 simanim, not in the Chumash. In the Gemara, a kosher bird has an extra finger, like a chicken and a turkey has, and that other birds don't have it. And a kosher bird has a crop here, a crawl, which means that the kernels go here, and then as it needs it drops down through the esophagus. That's one of the simanim. The third siman is it doesn't grab its food with its talons; it eats with its mouth. But eagles and vultures grab the food with their hands, with their talons. There's other simanim. But why doesn't the Torah give you the simanim? It wants to tell you something. It says that those 20 birds mentioned there, the treifa ones, they're also because the Torah mentions them. Even if they would have all 5 simanim, this would be treif, because the Torah mentioned these are usher. The other ones, the birds we eat, kosher ones, even if they have all the simanim, they're all good. You have to have a masorah that people eat them. All the simanim and ofot is no good unless you know that Jews ate them somewhere once. You have to have a masorah that people ate this. The simanim is not good enough. There was the trouble in America when the Jews came here in 1750, 1800 about Turkey. They didn't have it in Europe. In Hebrew it's called Tarnagel Hodu, a rooster from India. But Turkey is Turkey because it comes from Turkey. But how can it come from India? So it was started in India, and they exported it to Turkey, and then then the rest of the world ate it, and America was already here for 10 centuries. It's an American thing, but they couldn't eat it, even though it had all these simanim, because they had to find out somewhere in India the Jews ate it. They had to have a masorah. You can't eat that without a masorah. The simanim are nothing. So therefore the Torah doesn't mention it. The simanim is good only if you have a masorah. Anyhow, that's the details of Parsha's Shemini. This week, Tazria has a lot of details, about 117 psukim on body gets saras for talking Lashon Hara. That's a contamination of your soul. You talk bad about somebody. The Lashon Hara is the worst ever. A moser, a person who gives over Jews to the authority, is the worst Rasha in the world. Chaim Misa. A moser, he gives over names, he entraps other Jews. It's the worst of the worst of the worst. Lashon Hara. A moser. So Lashon Hara comes in 3 categories. There's Rechilut, and Lashon Hara, and Mosi Shem Ra. Mosi Shem Ra means he makes a story about you that's totally not true. Lashon Hara means he tells about you something terrible that's 100% true. And then there's Rechilut, just stop talking. It could be very bad. It's not bad, but it could be bad. You say, those people, they cook all the time. It could mean that they're eaters all the time, or they could be preparing food for poor people. Or he goes there to Israel 5 times a year. That's Rechilus. Or she has 100 pairs of shoes. Or he has 5 cars. That's Rechilus. You're not allowed to say that. That's an attack against your neshama. Anyhow, that's the Parsha of Mitzorah. Let's continue on with Pesach. So we told you there's a mitzvah of Higadato levincha, tell your son generally. Then Leman tesaper ba'ozne vincha, that's for a chacham. Now these questions, which you'll find on Torah Anytime, starting in 2 days. These are the questions on Torah Anytime, the questions and answers on Pesach. Let's start with the first one. So by the time Pesach comes, you can print it down from Torah anytime, and you'll be expert in these questions. Why is Moshe not mentioned in the Haggadah? Why is Moshe's name not mentioned in the Haggadah? Why doesn't it, something that God talked to Moshe, and Moshe said to Pharaoh, or Moshe took to Bnei Israel at Mitzrayim, why is that not mentioned? You want to know the answer? Instead of asking you 10 questions, let's ask questions with answers. Because it says in the Haggadah, Hashem took you out of Mitzrayim, lo al yidei hashaliach, not through the agent, not through an agent. And the focus of the Haggadah is about the night only, not Moshe. Lo al yidei hashaliach, not by Moshe. Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. He made all the firstborn of Egypt die, and then they come running to Moshe, please get out. It was not through Moshe, so Hashem killed the firstborn. That's called Makot Bechorot. Number 2. Why start our history with Lavan? Why not with Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov? What does this mean? When you go to the Haggadah, after a few pages, it says, Say ulamad, go out and tell. Ma bikesh Lavan Harami, what does Lavan Harami wanted to do? The Yaakov Avinu. This is where you start. Why don't you say that Avram was wanted to be killed by Nimrod? He threw him in the Kivshan Aish and he didn't kill him. What about Avimelech wanted to destroy Yitzchak? That came before Lavan. Why don't you say Esav wanted to destroy Yaakov? Why do you start with Lavan and Yaakov? Why don't you start right here? Nimrod wanted to kill Avraham. Avimelech wanted to kill Yitzchak. Esav wanted to kill Yaakov way before he ever got to Lavan. Answer: because Lavan switched Rachel and Leah, and therefore that caused Golus Mitzrayim. Because instead of Rachel being the child from Rachel, Yosef being the firstborn, it was Reuven. And because he loved Rachel, Yaakov, more than Leah, and really he wanted the first son to come from Rachel, not from Leah, and therefore he treated Yosef, who was the firstborn of Rachel, better than anybody else, and therefore the brothers hated him, and therefore they sold him to Mitzrayim, and therefore he became a king, and therefore they bowed down to him 22 years later, and therefore they were enslaved in Mitzrayim because they didn't go back after the hunger left. They loved it there, they got assimilated. After 210 years, 190 years, no, 210 years, Hashem took them out of Mitzrayim. The whole reason we have Seder night, because we celebrate Yetzias Mitzrayim, which is caused by the switch of Rachel and Leah. And they didn't like the firstborn of the second wife. That's the reason. Why do we sing Vehi Sh'amda? Vehi, and that promise that you gave to us, Sh'amda, that stood up for us in all generations. Why do we sing Vehi Sh'amda? Don't they always want to kill us? Is this a happy thing? Vehi Sh'amda, Vehi Sh'amda, Lavoseinu velonu, Vehi Sh'amda, Lavoseinu velonu. Shelo echad echad bilvado madoleinu. I don't have to sing the whole thing. Vehi Sh'amda, that promise of yours stood up for our forefathers forever. Why do we sing that? It's a very sad thing. They always want to kill us. Shelo echad bilvad, not only one man alone. It was not only Haman or Hitler. Every generation they stand up, they want to wipe us out. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu saves us from their hand. Do you know why the Rabbi sing it? Because it always turns out good for us in the end. Always, always, always. It always turns out good for us in the end. This is going to turn out good too. You see, Islam has taken over the whole world since 9/11. That's right. They've taken over the world. 10 years already. It's going to come out very good. How do you know? Look at the Malbim on Yecheskel, Lamed Beis, Pasuk 17, it says that at the Achus Hayomim, this is written by the Malbim in 1840, the United States didn't even have a civil war yet. We were nothing. We were not a world power. An Islam world didn't exist. Yes, it exists quietly. They were not a world power. 1840, 170 years ago. How did he know what he said there? That at the end of days, the Muslims will take over the world, and then the Muslims will start fighting between each other, killing each other, and the first country to be defeated by themselves is Mitzrayim, like happened a month ago. And then they're going to kill each other out, town to town. They're killing each other out in Yemen and in Syria and in Libya and in Egypt and in all over Jordan. He says there, that's going to be the last stage. They're going to kill each other out. Hashem will destroy them. And then he's going to send Edom, that means the Christians, to destroy the Muslims. The United States may be the most powerful Edom country. And then he's going to punish Edom for what he did to us in the Middle Ages. Look at Yecheskel, Malbim, Lamed Beis, Yud Zayin. Anyhow, it always turns out good for us. That's why we sing V'hishamda. 4. Why no Manish Tano on the first night of Sukkot? Or any other first night of Yom Tov, first night of Shavuos, Chanukah, Purim? Why not? The kid should say to the father, why is this night different than any other night? Why are we sitting in a sukkah? Why are we blowing the shofar? Why are we dipping the apple in there and the fruits? Why are we lighting these candles? Use oil menorah. Why we have Purim? Why is it only by Pesach we had set up the system of Manish Tano? Why Pesach? Number 4. Because we have a special mitzvah. We have special mitzvahs on Sukkot. Lulav and Esrog. Seder night, there's no special mitzvahs. What? What do you have special? Sit and learn Torah, we do it every night. Eat vegetables, we do it every night. Drink wine any night. What? Matzah? During the year you can eat matzah. Can't go in the sukkah in the middle of the year. We have no special mitzvahs on Seder night. Leaning. Sometimes you lean if you want. You eat wine. You can have 5 cups of wine any night of the week. But you never go in the sukkah except the sukkahs, and you don't dip honey in the thing there except on that night, and you don't light up Chanukah except the menorah except the Chanukah, and you don't get wild except on Purim, and you don't fast for 24 hours except Yom Kippur, because you have special mitzvahs on sukkahs. On Seder night there's no special mitzvahs. It's only we eat foods a certain way. You drink 4 cups, not 5, not 3, 4. You have to say these questions. You have to have this kind of morah, and this kind of thing, and this kind of thing. You have to tell a certain story, then drink a wine, then tell more, then drink a wine. In certain things, it's a seder, musudar. Therefore, you tell the child, what's tonight such a big deal? Why are you making a big deal about leaning this way? What about I can't want to lean that way? And I have to eat this vegetable, and this bitter vegetable, not that vegetable. Why are you making an issue about nothing? Why, how you lean and what you eat? And how many cups of wine? Maybe I want to have 6 cups, maybe 3 cups. Because we do on Seder night, no, we don't have a sukkah, we don't have a no, we do stuff we do every day of the year, but just this night you have to do it a certain way. Because we have no special mitzvahs on Seder night. On Sukkahs we do, on Chanukah we do, on Purim we do. Only a special style and way we do those things. To lean this way, not that way. Eat this vegetable, not that vegetable. We did 2 times, not 3 times. That's why we have Manish Tano on Seder night. If Magid is a mitzvah, why is there no bracha for it? Well, I should say bracha. Lahagid, divrei, Pesach, divrei. Yitzias Mitzrayim. Why is there no bracha for it? We do say a bracha. Zeicha Yitzias Mitzrayim in the Kiddush. Rabbi Yerucham says that. We say Asher Ba share. What's that? Share something, I don't know. However, but you say share Tziat, we say every Friday night, right? Zeichel Tziat Mitzrayim, we say every Friday night. I know. You know why we have that? Know why we say it every Friday night? Zeichel Tziat Mitzrayim, because if we wouldn't have Pesach, we wouldn't get out of Mitzrayim, we wouldn't be a nation. And since we got out of Mitzrayim physically freed, 7 weeks later we became spiritually freed by the Torah. And we wouldn't have anything who wouldn't be Mitzrayim. Therefore, we always thank God every day by Zeichel Tziat Mitzrayim. What connection is there between Ma'aseh Rabbi Eliezer and Omer Rabbi Elazar? Ma'aseh Rabbi Eliezer and Omer Rabbi Elazar. What's the connection? Both talk about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Look in the Haggadah. Number 6. Why rochza for motzi matzah? We did it already. You did urchatz for karpas. Why do you have to wash again for? You wash your hands for karpas. Why an hour later you have to wash rochza for motzi for eating the matzah? You may have scratched yourself, put your finger down somewhere in your ear or somewhere, and then therefore the hands are contaminated, and therefore you have to wash them again. Because between the karpas and eating the motzi matzah, maybe 2-3 hours. And you're not allowed to eat bread if your fingers have touched a part of your body that's usually covered, like down your neck or under your yarmulke, your scalp, or scratch your leg or something. Yet you might have to scratch yourself, therefore you wash again. Why is Pesach called Chag HaMatzos? Why is Mitzrayim called Kur HaBarzel? Pesach is called Chag HaMatzos because it's 95% Chag HaMatzos and 5% Pesach. That means on the 13th of the Nisan is Erev Pesach. The 14th is Pesach. That's right. You killed the Korban Pesach on the 14th at Chatzos, and you had it killed and roasted by sunset 6 hours later. And then you eat it, not past midnight, and then Pesach is over, finished, kaput, done. In Yalav Yavo, you never say that it's Pesach, you say it's Chag HaMatzos. So 95% is Chag HaMatzos. Pesach is only on the 14th. Erev Pesach is the 13th and the 14th up to Chatzos. By Chatzos, you have to sell all the chametz, disown all chametz. Then they start. That's Yom Tov ready. It's Erev Pesach at the 14th. That Chatzos is like Chol Hamoed. Can't do any malacha that you don't need. People dressed up totally for Shabbos, for Yom Tov. It's like din of Chol Hamoed. People bake matzahs then. Matzah's mitzvah, because that's when the Yidden in Mitzrayim baked it on the day before they went out. And they say Hallel while they're baking, the Hasidim say Hallel while they're making the matzahs. They don't think they say a bracha, but they say Hallel. And we have to, and based on English, you have to have your animals, the sheep, slaughtered right at Chatzos, anywhere between that and sunset, and have it totally roasted by sunset. And eaten by that night, midnight. You can't eat it after midnight. Awesome. That's why you should have your afikoman, which represents the Korban Pesach, eaten by midnight. This year is 1 o'clock, because they changed the clock. I don't know, 10 of 1, 5 of 1, whatever. That's Chatzos. How do you find out the Chatzos? You take sunset, and the next day, sunrise, and the next day sunrise. 24 hours. Right in the middle is midnight. And you have to have it eaten, your afikoman, not the first matzah, afikoman, eaten, done by Chatzos. The Shulchan Aruch is very makpid about that. People who eat the afikoman at 3 in the morning is not doing the right thing. The Mishnah Berurah brings down about 15 or 20 poskim who say that it must be done by midnight. If you went over, there's some way you can get out of it. There's heterim. Why should you live your life b'di eved? Why not lechatchila? Like big tzaddikim were makpid to have it finished by midnight. Then you can talk all night. You can drag out the rest of the Seder all night. As long as the afikoman, which represents Korban Pesach, is eaten by midnight, because afikoman is the end of the meal. That's when Korban Pesach was at the end of your other meal. The Korban Chagiga. Then you ate as a dessert. You ate Korban Pesach. Little mouthful, that's it. 7b. Why is Mitzrayim called Kur HaBarzel, the smelting pot, the oven, the smelting oven? To smelt out the filth of Lavan through his daughters. Some of the filth of Lavan went through his daughters, Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, and Leah, and that Rosh Tevis is Barzel. Beis Reish Zamech Lamed, Beis Reish Zamed Zayin Lamed, Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, Leah. Some of the schmutz, dirt of the wicked Zaidi, the Saba of the Jewish people, was a Rosh Gomor, worse than Pharaoh, it says in the Haggadah. He was the Zaidi, he was the Saba of the Jewish people. He was Yaakov's uncle and father-in-law. Rotten Russia. Lavan, it means white. There was nothing white about the man except his name. He wanted to wipe out his whole family after Yaakov ran away after 20 years. He wanted to wipe his own children out and grandchildren. And you see we made it, even though we have rotten relatives. So, Kur HaBarzel, Bilhah, Rachel, Zilpah, Leah. It had to be in that 210 years there to clean out any remnant of that rotten person. 8. Why is Pesach, Matzah, and Maror so important that we have to explain it, or we are not Yotze the Seder? It says it then, Rabbi Gamliel. If you don't explain these 3 things, you didn't do anything. You're done. You're finished. You didn't do any. You didn't do the mitzvah of Sipur or Haggadah. Why is Pesach, Matzah, and Maror so important that we have to explain it? And if you didn't explain it, you're not Yotze. Pesach means to skip over. He killed the Bechor in this house and not in that house. He skipped over. God skips over us all the time. He protects us in every country we are. We survive all onslaughts. Hashem always saves us miraculously. The Malach HaMovos always skips over us. We were not wiped out in Europe or in Spain or in Germany or in Babylonia or in anywhere. That's why we have to explain to the people, Pesach, God always saves us. You have to get that into the people's heads. Pesach. Peh, the mouth. Soch, speak about that. God always saved the Jewish people. We're like stars, indestructible. We're like the earth on the ground. You can walk on us, nothing happens. Everything comes from the ground. Adam Rishon came from the ground. Chias Mason comes from the ground. Food comes from the ground. Life comes from the ground. And the third thing is we're like Mayim, and we're like Mayim. There is Mayim is in everything, and rocks there's Mayim, and plants there's Mayim. Everything has moisture in it. 3/4 of the world is Mayim, 71%. Your body 75% water. You know that. So Pesach. Oh, so that's how did that Mayim get in there? Anyhow, Pesach. Matzah, the Yeshua always comes at the last instant. At the matzah means you put the thing in the oven. Well, you let it ferment up to 18 minutes. Could be 2 minutes, but you let it ferment up to 18 minutes. And if you baked it in an oven before 18 minutes, it's a mitzvah. If you let it go 1 second after 18 minutes, it's an aveirah. What's the difference between matzah and chametz? 1 second. Everything Hashem does is always in the last second. Yeshua's Hashem keheref ayin. The salvation of a guy like the blink of an eye. From 1 minute to the next, the world can change. Didn't it change 10 years ago in 9/11? Between 9 o'clock and 9:30? The entire world changed forever. Yeshua's Hashem is going to be the same way. You're going to blink of an eye, everything will be changed. Everything. Sometimes tragic things happen in a country, and within a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, the country is ruined, destroyed, like what happened in Japan. What started on Kristallnacht, November 9th, 1938, from that moment on, everything changed. That was 9/11, by the way. It was 9th of November, November 11/9, 9/11. So matzah means instant Yeshua, or disaster. Yeshua always comes to the last instant. Time is critical. Maror, that is assimilation. It always starts out sweet and fresh and geschmack, like lettuce. There's nothing wrong with lettuce. In the beginning, isn't every tomato sandwich, lettuce and tomato and egg sandwich with lettuce? Lettuce, great. Lettuce alone, you chew just on that, it loses its taste. It starts out, in assimilation, starts out very sweet and fresh and geschmack, like lettuce, but ends up very bitter. Eventually you chew on lettuce for a while, there's nothing there. Eventually it becomes very bitter. Bitter. Assimilation is so sweet in the beginning, so nice, ends up tragic. Look what happened to Mendelssohn. He was a heretic. He practiced Judaism 100%. From German rabbi, everything, except he was a heretic. And his children committed suicide and converted, and others converted to Christianity. Didn't end up good for him. They didn't really become Reformed Jews like him. They became non-Jews. The Reformed religion has destroyed millions. They're smarter than Moshe and Rashi and Rambam. Traitors to the cause. Now, I love Reformed Jews, don't get me wrong. I teach them, except the rabbis are liars to their people. And if the people knew anything, they would reject the rabbis. Their rabbis, because who do you think all the Baal Teshuvos are? They come from these kind of people who lie to them and don't tell them the truth. Tell them Judaism has something to do with lox and bagels and dipping the apple and stupid things like that. They don't know anything about Torah and mitzvahs, the essence. They're not smart because they don't see what's coming to them. Their great-grandparents stood at Sinai and they said Nasa v'nishma. They think that there's nothing after death. They're so naive, they don't understand the invisible forces is all the force. This has an invisible force, it drops, right? Electricity has an invisible force. Nevuah is an invisible force, and the Neshama is an invisible force. Gravity is invisible. Magnetism, electric current, all the real things that you don't see is the real thing. That's the real stuff. They don't see that, what's coming, Olam Haba, Schar Ba'onish, Nevuah, Neshama. They don't see that. They're not smart. They're educated in fictitious things. They're not really smart in life. So anyhow, maror is assimilation. The best of the 5 marors, it says in the Gemara, is chazer, it's lettuce. Nothing's bitter about that. Starts out geschmack, ends up very bitter. The Jews who assimilated in Germany, the liberale Juden, you know what happened to them at the end? They got a mark on their arm, Dachau, Auschwitz, Belsenbergen, like everybody else. It didn't help a thing. Their whole experiment was a shattering failure. Kristallnacht, the crystal ball of German imagination, of assimilation, is an illusion that was smashed. It's a failure. So, maror represents assimilation. It's always nice in the beginning, but horrible at the end. 9. Why no shechianu at bir chametz? You do it once a year. Why no shechianu at Sfiras HaOmer on the second day Pesach? Do it once a year. Answer: we're not happy at the destruction of useful things. You have to destroy the chametz. And for Sefira, we don't know if we will finish it. You can only finish the Sefira after 49 days, because the mitzvah is 49 days. So how can you make Shechianu Kiyamanu Zman Hazeh when you didn't finish the mitzvah for 40 days? And it's 49 parts to the mitzvah. Therefore, we can't say Shechianu Kiyamanu Zman Hazeh because we didn't finish it. And also, we're not happy at the destruction of Akiva's Talmidim, 24,000. And we're not happy at destruction of if you have chametz that you didn't sell, you got to destroy it. If you have to eat it up before Pesach or bury it, but you have to get rid of it some way, we don't make shechianu on destruction of anything. And number 10, what's the difference between kol dichvin and kol districh? It says in the beginning of Haggadah, anyone who's needy, come in, we'll feed him. Kol dichvin, we even feed a Gentile. Dichvin, he's needy. We provide matzah for a Jew, moas chitim. That's dichvin. Districh, tzorich, you need. Only for a Jew needs korban Pesach. The first part called different, we feed it for Gentile, we give Jew mother chitim. I know, very good, all that stuff. But what about eating Korban Pesach? That's ditzra. Sorry, only Jew has to eat Korban Pesach. Only for Jew needs to eat Korban Pesach. And nowadays, since there's no Beis Hamikdash, only for a Jew who needs a Seder. And you don't invite a Jew Seder night. You do it 3 weeks before, like tonight. You don't invite a Jew 2 days before Pesach. Almana or Yisomim or a person who's poor, doesn't have a family, a Baal Tshuva, a Ger, you invite him weeks before. Let him feel that you're his brother. You feel for him. Achdus, that's going to bring the Geula. Achdus. Okay, that's 10. Next week we'll do another 10, and the week after that we'll do another 10. We have about 30 different questions here. So I wish you all a good Pesach, and if you want to get these Haggadahs, 3 of them, the Rosh Yeshiva Haggadahs, 6 pictures on each one. They're all 3 of them. You don't have to get them all, but they're great. They're the fabulous things. It tells you the minhagim of all of them on all the things we do. 18 different opinions about everything, about who did what minhagim. Rabbi say, have a good week.